The steak knife froze halfway to Rowan Pierce's mouth. A little girl stood at his table. Red dress, braided hair, small black bag, clutched in both hands like it weighed more than she did. The jazz music kept playing. Chandeliers kept glowing. But every sound in Haven Oaks Steakhouse seemed to drain away the moment her eyes locked onto his. She couldn't have been more than 7. Her dress looked expensive once. Velvet with gold buttons, but the hem was frayed. Her shoes were scuffed at the toes. She didn't blink, didn't smile, just stood there, breathing steady, like she'd been searching for him her whole short life. Rowan set the knife down. His white suit jacket suddenly felt too tight across his chest. "Sweetheart, I think you've got the wrong table." She shook her head. "Slow. Certain." "No, sir. Mama said you'd be here. Thursday nights. Same table." His throat went dry. Behind him, while he shifted in his chair, Garrison's fork clinked against porcelain. Both men, his business partners, his shields, watched the girl like she'd walked in with a bomb. "Who's your mama?" Rowan asked. His voice came out quieter than he meant it to. The girl didn't answer. She just extended the bag toward him. Her arm trembled slightly, but her face stayed calm. Too calm for a child. "She said to give you this. Said you'd understand." Rowan stared at the bag. Black canvas, drawstring pulled tight. It looked old, worn at the corners. He didn't reach for it. "Listen, honey, I don't know what." "Please." Her voice cracked just enough to gut him. "I walked 6 blocks. Mama said you're the only one who can help. Hi, viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is." Lal leaned forward, whispering harsh. "Rowan, what the hell is this?" Garrison smirked. "Someone's running a scam. Get security." But Rowan couldn't move. Couldn't look away from the girl's eyes. Dark brown, deep, familiar in a way that made his pulse hammer against his ribs. He took the bag. It was lighter than he expected. Something shifted inside, soft fabric, maybe paper. His fingers worked the drawstring open. The girl watched him, waiting. Inside, folded tissue paper. He peeled it back. A photograph slid out first. Rowan's breath stopped. The woman in the picture smiled at the camera, tired but radiant. She stood on a porch, paint peeling, steps sagging, holding a baby wrapped in a yellow blanket. Behind her, a screen door hung crooked on its hinges. He knew that face. He knew that porch. Mira Langford. 14 years collapsed into nothing. The room tilted. His fingers went numb around the photograph. "Where did you get this?" His voice barely made it past his teeth. The girl blinked once. "That's Mama, and that's me when I was born." Rowan's stomach dropped like he'd stepped off a cliff. He looked at the girl again. Really looked. The curve of her jaw. The way her eyebrows arched when she was serious. The small mole just above her left collarbone. Myra's mole. No. He shook his head. Tried to pull air into his lungs. "Your mother. Where is she now?" The girl's lips pressed together. Her chin lifted just slightly, brave, defiant, breaking. "She passed. 2 months ago." The words hit him like glass shattering in slow motion. All stood up fast, chairs scraping loud against the floor. "All right, that's enough. Kid, you need to leave before." "Sit down." Rowan's voice came out low. Deadly. Lyle froze. Garrison's smirk disappeared. Rowan looked back into the bag. His hands moved on autopilot now, numb and shaking. He pulled out a folded piece of paper. The edges were soft, like it had been opened and closed 100 times. He unfolded it. The handwriting punched him in the chest. "Dear Dr. Pierce, I hope you built that hospital you dreamed about." His vision blurred. The letters swam. He forced himself to keep reading. "I didn't make it that far. The truth is, they blacklisted me after I took the blame for something you did. I don't hate you. I just hope you never forget that kindness has a cost when silence becomes cowardice." His hands were shaking so hard the paper rattled. "If my little girl ever finds you, please make sure she never feels like she came from nothing." The signature at the bottom was smudged, faded, but he'd recognize it anywhere. Mira. The restaurant sounds came rushing back all at once. Silverware clinking. Low conversation. Someone laughing at the bar. But Rowan couldn't hear any of it over the roar in his own head. He looked up at the girl. She was still standing there, hands clasped in front of her now, waiting. Her eyes were wet, but she hadn't cried. Not once. "What's your name?" he whispered. "Alia." The name landed soft. Final. Garrison leaned in close, voice dripping contempt. "Don't fall for this, Rowan. It's a shakedown. These people." "Say one more word," Rowan said quietly, "and I'll make sure you never work in this city again." Silence. Garrison's jaw tightened, but he sat back. Rowan turned back to Alia. His throat ached. His chest felt like someone had reached in and squeezed. "Did she ever tell you who your father was?" Alia nodded. Slow. Careful. "She said I'd know him when I saw him. Said he wore white suits and ate steak on Thursdays." Rowan's world cracked open. Every lie he'd ever told himself shattered in that single breath. Have you ever had a moment where the past you buried suddenly showed up, alive, breathing, staring you right in the face? Drop a comment below if you've ever realized too late that silence costs more than the truth. Rowan couldn't feel his hands. The photograph sat on the white tablecloth between his wine glass and the untouched steak. Myra's face stared up at him, young, hopeful, holding a baby he'd never known existed. Alia stood perfectly still, watching him, waiting for something he didn't know how to give. Garrison pushed his chair back. "I'm calling security." "You're not." Rowan didn't look at him, didn't blink. His voice came out flat and final. Lyle's jaw worked. "Rowan, man, you need to think about this. You don't know this kid. You don't know what she wants." "She's 7, Rowan said quietly. "What do you think she wants?" Lyle didn't answer. Alia shifted her weight from one foot to the other. Her fingers twisted the edge of her dress. For the first time, she looked like what she was, a tired child who'd walked too far. Rowan gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Sit down." She hesitated, glanced at the two men behind him. Then slowly, carefully, she pulled the chair out and climbed into it. Her feet didn't touch the floor. A waiter appeared at the table, professional smile in place. "Can I get the young lady anything?" Rowan nodded. "Bring her whatever she wants." Alia looked at the menu like it was written in another language. "Just water, please." "And food," Rowan added. "Bring her the chicken tenders. And fries." The waiter nodded and disappeared. Garrison stood up, throwing his napkin onto his plate. "I'm not watching this circus." He walked away, shoulders tight, phone already at his ear. Lyle stayed, but his face said he wanted to leave too. Rowan ignored him. He leaned forward, elbows on the table, and studied Alia. Really studied her. The shape of her nose, the curve of her mouth when she pressed her lips together, the way her eyes darted around the restaurant, nervous but stubborn. She looked like Mira, but she also looked like someone else. His chest tightened. "You said your mama passed 2 months ago." Alia nodded. "What happened?" She stared at her hands. "Pneumonia." She couldn't afford the medicine. By the time the clinic saw her, it was too late. The words were simple, flat, like she'd rehearsed them until they stopped hurting. Rowan's throat closed up. "Who's been taking care of you?" "Miss Renee. She lives next door, but she's got 4 kids already. She said I can't stay much longer." Rowan felt something crack open inside his chest. Something raw and jagged. "How did you find me?" Alia reached into the pocket of her dress and pulled out a folded piece of newspaper. She smoothed it out on the table. It was an article from the Metro Journal, a photo of Rowan cutting a ribbon at the opening of his new wellness center. The headline read, "Dr. Rowan Pierce expands legacy with third health facility." "Mama kept this," Alia said quietly. "She'd look at it sometimes. She never said your name out loud, but I knew. She told me if anything ever happened to her, I should find the man in the white suit." Rowan stared at the photo, at his own face, smiling, confident, untouchable. A man who'd built an empire on precision and control. A man who'd left a woman to drown. The waiter returned with a glass of water and a plate of chicken tenders. Alia picked up a fry, but didn't eat it. Just held it between her fingers like she was too nervous to put it in her mouth. "You should eat," Rowan said gently. She took a small bite, chewed slowly, swallowed. Lyle leaned close, voice low. "You realize this could be a setup, right? Someone could be using this kid to get to you." Rowan turned his head, slow and deliberate. "Get out." Lyle blinked. "What?" "I said get out. Go home. I'll call you tomorrow." Lyle's face flushed, but he didn't argue. He stood, grabbed his jacket, and walked out without another word. Now it was just Rowan and Alia. The restaurant hummed around them. Laughter, clinking glasses, soft music. But their table felt like an island. Separate, silent. Rowan picked up the letter again. Read it slower this time. Let every word sink in. They blacklisted me after I took the blame for something you did. His stomach twisted. He remembered the night it happened. 14 years ago, Mira had smuggled extra oxygen tanks and formula from the hospital supply room. His daughter, Nori, had been born premature, struggling. The hospital protocol said no extra supplies without authorization. But Mira hadn't cared. She'd risked her job to keep Nori alive. And when the administration found out, they came for her. Rowan had been a broken turn then, terrified of losing his position. So when they asked him if he knew anything, he'd said no. He'd let her take the fall alone. She'd been fired within a week, and he'd never spoken to her again. Until now. Until this. Rowan looked at Alia. She was eating slowly, methodically, like she was trying to make the food last. Alia, he said quietly, did your mama ever, did she ever tell you anything about me? About who I was to her? Alia wiped her mouth with a napkin. She looked down at her plate. She said you were a good man once. She said people forget who they are when they're scared. The words hit him like a fist. She also said, Alia's voice got quieter. She said you were my father. The room went silent. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe the world kept spinning. Maybe people kept talking and eating and living. But Rowan couldn't hear any of it. He stared at the girl across from him. 7 years old. Myra's daughter. His daughter. The truth settled into his bones like ice. What would you do if a child showed up at your door and shattered everything you thought you knew about your life? Comment below, because this story is just beginning. Rowan sat in his car for 20 minutes before he could turn the key. Alia sat in the passenger seat, small and quiet, staring out the window at the parking lot lights. She hadn't said a word since they left the restaurant. Just followed him to the car, climbed in, and buckled her seatbelt like she'd done it 1,000 times. Like she'd been preparing for this moment her whole life. Rowan's hands gripped the steering wheel. His knuckles were white. He should call someone. A lawyer. Child services. Someone who knew how to handle this. But he couldn't move. Because if he called someone, this became real. And he wasn't ready for it to be real. Where do you live? He finally asked. Alia pointed east. Hillcrest. Near the old factory. Rowan knew the area. Rundown apartments. Chain-link fences. Streets where police sirens were background noise. He started the car. They drove in silence. The city lights blurred past the windows. Alia pressed her forehead against the glass, breath fogging it up in small circles. Do you have any brothers or sisters? Rowan asked. She shook her head. Just me. And your mama. She never married? No, sir. Did she ever talk about me? About us? Alia was quiet for a long time. Then she said, she told me you had another daughter. An older one. She said you were a good father to her. Rowan's chest tightened. Nori, his daughter. 14 years old now. Smart, stubborn, full of life. The daughter he'd raised. The daughter he'd known about. Does she know? Alia asked softly. About me? Rowan swallowed hard. No. Alia nodded. Like she'd expected that answer. They pulled up in front of a sagging apartment building. Graffiti covered the lower walls. A broken streetlight flickered at the corner. Alia unbuckled her seatbelt. Thank you for the food. She reached for the door handle. Wait. Rowan's voice came out sharper than he meant it to. She stopped. Looked at him. I can't just drop you off and leave. Miss Renee's waiting for me. I don't care. We need to talk about this. About what happens next. Alia's face stayed calm. Too calm. What's there to talk about? Mama's gone. You didn't know I existed. I'll be fine. You're 7. I'm 8 next month. Rowan exhaled slowly. He rubbed his face with both hands. Give me your address. I'll come by tomorrow. We'll figure this out. Alia rattled off an apartment number. Rowan typed it into his phone. She opened the door and slid out. But before she closed it, she turned back. Mama said you were scared back then. She said fear makes people do things they regret. Her voice was soft. Adult. She forgave you. She just wanted me to tell you that. The door closed. Rowan watched her walk into the building. Watched the door swing shut behind her. watched the light in a third-floor window flicker on. Then he sat there in the dark, alone, with Myra's letter on the seat beside him. He picked it up. Read it again. Kindness has a cost when silence becomes cowardice. He'd spent 14 years building a life, a career, a reputation. He told himself he'd done the right thing back then, that keeping quiet had been survival. But Mira had paid the price. And now their daughter, was paying it too. Rowan pulled out his phone, stared at the screen. His thumb hovered over Nori's contact. He couldn't call her. Not yet. Not until he figured out what to say. Hey, sweetheart. Funny story. You have a sister. He put the phone down. The drive home felt longer than it should have. His house sat at the end of a gated street. Modern, clean, quiet. Everything in its place. Everything controlled. He parked in the driveway and sat there, staring at the front door. Inside, Nori was probably asleep. His housekeeper, Miss Claudia, would be in the guest room. The house would be warm and still and exactly the way he'd left it. But nothing would ever be the same. Rowan got out of the car, walked up the steps, unlocked the door. The house was dark except for the light over the stove. He dropped his keys on the counter, loosened his tie, poured himself a glass of water, and stood at the sink, staring out the window at nothing. Myra's face kept appearing in his mind. The way she used to smile at him during those long night shifts. The way she'd sneak him coffee when he was falling asleep at the nurse's station. The way she'd looked at him after Nori was born, like he was someone worth saving. And then the way she'd looked at him in the hallway the day she was fired. Hurt, betrayed, but not surprised. Like she'd known all along he wouldn't fight for her. Rowan set the glass down. His hand was shaking again. A voice came from behind him. Dad! He spun around. Nori stood in the doorway, wearing pajama pants and an oversized hoodie. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She rubbed her eyes, squinting at him in the dim light. You're home late, she said. Everything okay? Rowan opened his mouth. No words came out. Nori frowned. Stepped closer. Dad, you look weird. What happened? He wanted to tell her. Wanted to sit her down and explain everything. But he didn't know where to start. So he just said, long night. Go back to bed. She didn't move. You're scaring me. I'm Fina. I promise. We'll talk in the morning. Nori studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, but you better actually talk to me. Not that we'll talk later thing you always do. She turned and padded back down the hallway. Rowan stood there in the dark, listening to her footsteps fade. Then he pulled out his phone and looked at the address Alia had given him. Tomorrow, he'd go back. Tomorrow, he'd start figuring this out. But tonight, all he could do was stand in his perfect kitchen and feel the weight of 14 years pressing down on his chest. If you've ever kept a secret so long it became part of you, you know what Rowan's feeling right now. What do you think he should do next? Let us know in the comments. Morning came too fast. Rowan stood in front of his bathroom mirror, tie half knotted, and stared at a stranger. Same face, same sharp jawline, same eyes, but something behind them had shifted overnight. He finished the knot, smoothed his collar, put on his watch, $12,000 of Swiss precision. Downstairs, Nori sat at the kitchen island, spooning cereal in her mouth while scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up when he walked in. Morning, he said. Morning. Her voice was flat. She was still mad about last night. MS. Claudia set a cup of coffee in front of him. You want breakfast, Dr. Pierce? No, thank you. He sipped the coffee, burned his tongue. Didn't care. Nori finally looked up. You gonna tell me what's going on? Or are we just pretending everything's normal? Rowan set the cup down. Not now. That's what you said last night. I know. She stared at him, waiting. He couldn't do this. Not here. Not now. Not with Miss Claudia wiping down counters and the morning news playing on low volume in the background. Tonight, he said. I promise. Tonight we'll talk. Nori's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Fina. She grabbed her backpack and headed for the door. Rowan watched her go, guilt twisting in his stomach. As soon as the door closed, Miss Claudia turned to him. You all right, Dr. Pierce? You look tired. I'm Fina. She didn't believe him, but she didn't push. Just nodded and went back to cleaning. Rowan finished his coffee in silence. Then he grabbed his keys and headed out. The address Alia had given him led to a place called Hillcrest Gardens, which was neither a garden nor anything close to nice. Cracked sidewalks, boarded windows, a rusted playground with one swing hanging by a single chain. Rowan parked his Mercedes and immediately felt every eye on the block turn toward him. He got out, locked the car, walked toward the building. A group of men sat on the front steps, smoking. One of them, tall, broad-shouldered, gold chain glinting in the sun, stood up as Rowan approached. "You lost, man." Rowan stopped, kept his voice calm. "I'm here to see someone. Apartment 3C. The man's eyes narrowed. "You a cop?" "No." "Social services?" "No." The man looked him up and down. White suit, expensive shoes, watch that cost more than rent for 6 months. "Then what you want with Alia?" Rowan's chest tightened. "That's between me and her." The man stepped closer, not threatening, just present. "Miss Renee's been taking care of that girl since Mira passed. You show up here in your fancy car, acting like you care now." He shook his head. "Nah, mun, we don't play that." Rowan met his gaze. "I'm not here to cause problems. I just need to talk to her." The man studied him. Then he stepped aside. "3rd floor, door on the left. And if you hurt that little girl, you won't make it back to your car." Rowan nodded, walked inside. The hallway smelled like mildew and fried food. The elevator was out of order. He took the stairs. 3rd floor, door on the left. He knocked. Footsteps. Then the door opened. A woman stood there, middle-aged, tired eyes, baby on her hip. She looked Rowan up and down with the same suspicion the man outside had. "You the doctor?" "Yes, ma'am." She didn't smile. "Alia said you might come." "Come." The apartment was small, clean but crowded. Toys scattered across the floor. A couch with duct tape holding the armrest together. The smell of breakfast still hanging in the air. Alia sat at a small table by the window, coloring. She looked up when Rowan walked in. No surprise on her face. Just quiet recognition. "Hi," she said. Miss Renee set the baby in a playpen. "I'll give you two some space, but I'll be in the next room. You hear me?" Rowan nodded. She left, but the door stayed cracked. Rowan sat down across from Alia. She kept coloring. A picture of a house with a big tree and a swing set. "That's a nice drawing," he said. "Thank you." Silence. Rowan didn't know where to start, didn't know what to say. So he just sat there, watching her color inside the lines with careful precision. Finally, Alia spoke. "Did you tell your other daughter about me?" "Not yet." She nodded, kept coloring. "I will. I need to figure out how. Mama said you were good at figuring things out. She said you were smart." Rowan's throat tightened. "Your mama was smart too." Alia looked up. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't cry, just blinked hard and looked back down at her paper. "I miss her," she said quietly. "I know. She tried really hard. She worked 2 jobs, but it was never enough." Alia's hand stilled over the paper. She got sick and she didn't tell anyone. Not until it was too late. Rowan felt something break inside him. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." Alia set the crayon down. "She told me not to be mad at you. She said you were just scared. But I don't understand how being scared makes it okay." Rowan didn't have an answer. Because it wasn't okay. It never had been. "You're right," he said. "It's not okay. I should have been there. I should have helped her." Alia looked at him. Really looked. Like she was trying to see if he meant it. "Are you going to help me now?" Rowan nodded. "Yes. Promise. I promise." Alia picked up her crayon again. Colored the tree green. "Miss Renee says I might have to go into foster care soon. She can't afford another mouth to feed." Rowan's jaw tightened. "That's not going to happen." "How do you know?" "Because I'm your father, and I'm not letting you go anywhere." The words hung in the air. Alia stared at him. Her lip trembled. "You mean it?" "I mean it." She put the crayon down, stood up, walked around the table, and then, slowly, carefully, she wrapped her arms around his neck. Rowan froze. Then, gently, he hugged her back. She smelled like baby shampoo and crayons. And for the first time in 14 years, Rowan felt like he might be able to fix this. What would you do if you found out you had a child you never knew existed? Would you walk away, or would you fight? Drop your thoughts below, because Rowan's fight is just beginning. The DNA test took 3 days. Rowan paid extra for expedited results. Spent those 3 days in a fog. Meetings he barely heard, calls he didn't return, dinners with Nori where he answered her questions with half-truths and vague promises. She knew something was wrong. She just didn't know what. On the third day, the email came. Rowan sat in his office, door locked, hands shaking as he opened the attachment. Probability of paternity, 99.97%. He stared at the screen until the words blurred. Then he closed his laptop, put his head in his hands, and finally let himself feel it. Relief, terror, guilt, all at once. Alia was his daughter. He'd known at the moment he saw her. But knowing and knowing were two different things. Now it was real. Now he had to deal with it. He called his lawyer first, explained the situation, listened to a 20-minute lecture about liability and custody and legal ramifications, told the lawyer to start the paperwork anyway. Then he called Miss Renee. I want to take her, he said. Officially, I want custody. Miss Renee was quiet for a long time. You sure about this, Dr. Pierce? This ain't something you could just try out and give back if it don't work. I know. That little girl's been through enough. She don't need someone else walking out on her. I'm not walking out. Another pause. All right then. I'll start getting her things together. Rowan hung up, stared at the wall. Then he picked up his phone again and called Nori. Hey, Dad, she answered. Background noise, voices, lockers slamming. She was at school. Can you come home early today? He asked. I need to talk to you. Her voice shifted, guarded. About what? I'll explain when you get here. Just, please. It's important. She hesitated. Okay, I'll be home by 3. Thank you. He hung up. Then he sat there in his office, surrounded by diplomas and awards and photos of a life he'd built on silence, and waited for everything to come crashing down. Nori got home at 3:15. Rowan was sitting in the living room when she walked in. She dropped her backpack by the door and crossed her arms. Okay, I'm here. Talk. Rowan gestured to the couch. Sit down. She didn't move. Dad, you're freaking me out. Please, just sit. She sat, perched on the edge of the cushion like she might bolt any second. Rowan took a breath. I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen all the way through before you say anything. Nori's eyes narrowed. Okay, 14 years ago, before you were born, I was working as an intern. Your mother and I weren't together yet. There was a nurse at the hospital. Her name was Mira. Nori's face went still. We were close. For a short time. And then your mother and I got together, and I stopped seeing Mira. I didn't know. His voice caught. I didn't know Mira was pregnant. Nori's mouth opened. No sound came out. She had a daughter, Alia. She's 7. And last week, she showed up at the restaurant and gave me a letter. Mira passed away 2 months ago. And Alia, he swallowed hard. Alia is my daughter. Silence. Nori stared at him. Her face was white. You're joking. I'm not. You have another kid? Yes. And you just, what? Forgot about her. I didn't know she existed. Nori stood up. Fussed. Her hands were shaking. How do you not know you have a kid? Mira never told me. Why not? I don't know. Maybe because I didn't stand up for her when she needed me. Maybe because she knew I wouldn't have been there anyway. Nori's eyes filled with tears. So you have a whole other daughter somewhere and you never said anything? I found out a week ago. A week. Her voice cracked. You've known for a week and you didn't tell me. I needed to be sure. I needed to figure out what to do. What to do? She laughed. Sharp. Bitter. What's there to figure out? You have another kid. You either deal with it or you don't. I'm dealing with it. Ow. Rowan looked at her. I'm bringing her here. I'm getting custody. She's going to live with us. Nori's face went from pale to red. You're what? She doesn't have anyone else. So you're just going to bring some random kid into our house? She's not random. She's your sister. I don't have a sister. Nori's voice broke. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I have a dad who apparently lies about everything. I didn't lie. You didn't tell the truth either. She grabbed her backpack, turned toward the stairs. Nori, wait. No, I can't do this right now. She ran up the stairs. A door slammed. Rowan sat there in the silence. Then he stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the perfectly manicured lawn and the perfect quiet street and the perfect life he'd built, and realized none of it had ever been real. His phone buzzed. A text from Miss Renee. Ollie is ready whenever you are. Rowan stared at the message. Then he grabbed his keys and walked out the door. If you had to choose between protecting the life you built and doing what's right, which would you choose? Rowan's about to find out the answer costs more than he ever imagined. Comment below, because the hardest part is still coming. Alia's belongings fit into 2 garbage bags. Rowan stood in Miss Renee's doorway, staring at them. Clothes. A stuffed rabbit with 1 ear missing. 3 books with cracked spines. A shoebox full of crayons and drawings. 7 years of life reduced to 2 bags. Miss Renee handed them over without ceremony. She's been ready since this morning. Been sitting by the window watching for your car. Rowan took the bags. They weighed almost nothing. Alia appeared behind Miss Renee, wearing the same red dress from the restaurant. She'd braided her own hair. Her shoes were tied in careful double knots. You ready? Rowan asked. She nodded. Miss Renee crouched down, pulled Alia into a tight hug. You be good, baby. And if you need anything at all, you call me. You hear? Yes, ma'am. Miss Renee stood up, wiping her eyes. She looked at Rowan. I mean it, Dr. Pierce. That little girl calls me crying, and I'm coming for you. Don't care how much money you got. Understood. Alia took Rowan's hand. Her palm was small and warm against his. They walked down the stairs together. The same group of men sat on the front steps. The tall one with the gold chain watched them pass. He nodded once at Alia. She waved back. Rowan opened the car door. Alia climbed into the back seat, buckled herself in. He put her bags in the trunk. The drive back was quiet. Alia stared out the window, watching the neighborhood change. Broken sidewalks turned to smooth pavement. Chain-link fences became brick walls. Graffiti disappeared behind manicured hedges. Is your house big? She asked suddenly. Yeah, pretty big. Bigger than Miss Renee's? Yes. She nodded, went back to staring. Rowan glanced at her in the rearview mirror. You okay? I think so. You can tell me if you're scared. I'm not scared. She paused. I don't know what happens now. We figure out. Together. She met his eyes in the mirror. What if your other daughter hates me? Rowan's chest tightened. She won't hate you. She sounded mad. When you told her. I heard you through the door. Rowan cursed himself silently. She needs time. This is hard for her too. I didn't mean to make things hard. You didn't. I did. A long time ago. Alia looked down at her hands. Mama used to say everybody makes mistakes. She said what matters is what you do after. Rowan's throat burned. They pulled into the driveway. Alia pressed her face to the window, eyes wide. This is your house. Yeah. It looks like a castle. Rowan helped her out of the car, grabbed her bags from the trunk. The front door opened before they reached it. Miss Claudia stood there, eyes wide with questions she didn't ask. She'd been with the family for 6 years. She knew when to stay quiet. Miss Claudia, this is Alia. She's going to be staying with us. MS. Claudia's face softened immediately. Well, hello there, sweetheart. You hungry? I just made cookies. Alia looked at Rowan. He nodded. Yes, ma'am. Alia said quietly. Miss Claudia led her toward the kitchen. Rowan stood in the foyer, bags still in his hands, and listened to their voices fade. Then he heard footsteps on the stairs. Nori stood on the landing, arms crossed, face hard. So she's really here. Yeah. Where's she sleeping? The guest room. For now. Nori's jaw tightened. The one next to mine? Yes. She shook her head, came down the rest of the stairs, stopped a few feet away from him. I don't know if I can do this, Dad. I know it's a lot. It's not a lot. It's insane. Her voice cracked. You expect me to just accept that I have a sister? That there's this whole other kid who's apparently part of our family now? She doesn't have anywhere else to go. That's not my problem. The kitchen went silent. Rowan kept his voice low. It's mine, and I'm asking you to give her a chance. That's all. Just a chance. Nori's eyes filled with tears. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why did I have to find out like this? Because I was scared. Because I didn't know how. Because I'm not good at this. At what? At being honest when it's hard. Nori wiped her face roughly. I need space. I can't look at her right now. She turned and went back upstairs. Her door closed. Not a slam, just a firm, final click. Rowan stood there, alone in the foyer, holding 2 garbage bags that contained everything his daughter owned. Miss Claudia appeared in the kitchen doorway. She's eating. You want to come say goodnight? Rowan nodded, followed her in. Alia sat at the kitchen island, swinging her legs, a chocolate chip cookie in each hand. She smiled when she saw him. Small, shy. These are really good. Miss Claudia's the best baker in the state, Rowan said. He sat down beside her. You tired? A little. Let me show you your room. He led her upstairs. Opened the door to the guest room. Pale blue walls, white furniture, a queen-size bed that looked enormous compared to her small frame. Alia stood in the doorway, staring. This is all for me. Yeah. The whole room. The whole room. She walked in slowly, touched the bedspread, looked at the window that faced the backyard, at the lamp on the nightstand, at the empty bookshelf waiting to be filled. Rowan set her bags on the bed. We'll get you more stuff this week. Clothes, books, whatever you need. Alia turned to him. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why did Mama never tell you about me? If she knew where you were, why didn't she just ask for help? Rowan sat down on the edge of the bed, thought about how to answer, decided on the truth. Because I let her down once, and she didn't trust that I wouldn't do it again. Alia climbed onto the bed beside him. But you're here now. Yeah, I'm here now. She leaned against his shoulder, just for a moment, then pulled back like she'd overstepped. You can stay, Rowan said quietly. If you want. She hesitated, then leaned back in. They sat like that for a while. The house creaked around them. Somewhere down the hall, music played softly behind Nori's closed door. Good night, Alia. Good night. Rowan stood, turned off the light, left the door cracked open. Then he went to his own room and sat on the edge of his own bed and wondered how he was going to make this work. His phone buzzed. A text from Lyle. We need to talk. Tomorrow. This situation could hurt the foundation. Rowan stared at the message, then deleted it. The foundation could wait. For the first time in his life, something mattered more. What would you sacrifice to make things right? Your reputation? Your comfort? Your carefully built life? Drop a comment below, because Rowan's about to learn that redemption costs everything. The school hallway smelled like floor cleaner and anxiety. Rowan sat in the principal's office, Alia beside him, her feet dangling 6 inches off the ground. She wore a new uniform, navy skirt, white shirt, shoes that actually fit. He bought them yesterday. She picked out a purple backpack with stars on it. Principal Hayes shuffled papers across her desk. So you're enrolling Alia mid-semester? Yes. And you're listed as her legal guardian? The paperwork's being finalized. But yes. Hayes looked at Alia over her reading glasses. Have you been in school recently, sweetheart? Alia shook her head. Not since Mama got sick. Miss Renee tried to homeschool me, but she had her own kids to worry about. Hayes made a note. We'll need to do an assessment. Figure out where she's at academically. Whatever she needs, Rowan said. Tutors, extra help, I'll pay for it. Hayes smiled. Small, knowing. Mr. Pierce, money helps. But what she needs most is stability. Consistency. Can you provide that? The question landed like a punch. Rowan looked at Alia. She was staring at a poster on the wall. Something about kindness and courage. Yes, he said. I can. Hayes nodded. All right then. Let's get her registered. An hour later, Alia had a class schedule, a locker combination written on her palm, and a homeroom assignment. Rowan walked her to the classroom door. You're going to do great. She looked up at him. What if nobody likes me? Then they're idiots. But they will. Just be yourself. She chewed her bottom lip. What if I forget everything? What if I can't keep up? Rowan crouched down so they were eye level. Then you try again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that, until it gets easier. Does it get easier? He wanted to lie, wanted to tell her everything would be fine. But he'd lied enough. Sometimes, not always, but you're tougher than you think. Alia nodded, squared her small shoulders. Okay. She walked into the classroom. Rowan watched through the door window as the teacher introduced her to the class. Watched the other kids stare. Watched Alia take a seat in the back, alone, and open her notebook with shaking hands. Then he left before he could change his mind and pull her out. At home, Nori was in the kitchen making breakfast. She didn't look up when he walked in. How'd it go? Miss Claudia asked. She's nervous, but she'll be okay. Nori poured herself orange juice, drank it standing up, still didn't look at him. Nori, I have to go. I'll be late. She grabbed her bag and walked out. The door closed. Miss Claudia wiped down the counter, pretending she hadn't noticed. Give her time. I'm running out of time. Then make more. Rowan's phone rang. Garrison's name flashed on the screen. He let go to voicemail. It rang again immediately. This time it was Lyle. He answered. We need to meet. Today. Lyle's voice was tight. I'm Busse. Rowan, this isn't optional. The board's asking questions. Your name's showing up in family court records. People are talking. Let them talk. This affects all of us. The foundation. The clinics. Everything we built. I'll handle it. You're not handling it. You're ignoring it. And it's going to blow up in your face. Rowan closed his eyes. What do you want me to do, Lyle? Pretend she doesn't exist. I want you to be smart. Get ahead of this before it becomes a scandal. She's my daughter, not a PR problem. Silence on the other end. Then Lyle said quietly, You're going to lose everything. Maybe I deserve to. He hung up. Miss Claudia was watching him. You okay? No. Want some coffee? Yeah. She poured him a cup. He sat at the island and drank it black, staring at nothing. His phone buzzed. A text from the school. Ollie, his teacher, would like to speak with you. Can you come in? Rowan's stomach dropped. It was only 10 in the morning. She'd been in school for 2 hours. He drove back fast, parked crooked, walked into the office out of breath. The secretary pointed him toward a classroom. Ms. Torres is waiting. He found a room, knocked. A young woman opened the door. Late 20s, kind eyes, tired smile. Mr. Pierce? Yes. Is Alia okay? She's fine. She's in the library right now. I just wanted to talk to you about something. They sat at a small table meant for children. Rowan's knees hit the edge. Ms. Torres folded her hands. Ollie is very bright, but she's also very behind. She's reading at second grade level. Her math skills are inconsistent, and she's exhausted. Rowan's chest tightened. What can I do? Be patient. This isn't going to fix itself in a week. She's going to struggle. She's going to cry. She might even ask to quit. Ms. Torres leaned forward. But if you stick with her, she'll catch up. I've seen it before. I'll stick with her. Good. Because right now you're all she has. The words hit him like a train. One more thing, Ms. Torres said. She asked if she could call you Dad. I told her that was between you two, but I thought you should know. Rowan couldn't speak. Ms. Torres stood. She's a sweet kid, Mr. Pierce. She deserves a chance. I know. He found Alia in the library, sitting at a table, drawing in her notebook. She looked up when he walked over. Am I in trouble? No, not at all. Ms. Torres said she wanted to talk to you. I thought maybe I did something wrong. Rowan sat down across from her. You didn't do anything wrong. She just wanted to make sure I knew how to help you. Alia nodded, went back to her drawing. It was a house again. Same tree, same swing. But this time, there were 2 stick figures standing in the yard. Who's that? Rowan asked, pointing to the taller figure. You. And the other one? Me. Rowan's throat closed. Alia looked up. Is that okay? That I drew us together? He nodded. Couldn't trust his voice. She smiled. Small. Hopeful. And for the first time, Rowan thought maybe he could do this. Have you ever had to start over? Build something from nothing? Comment below if you've ever felt like Alia, scared, hopeful, and just trying to survive. Because this story is about all of us. The dedication ceremony was scheduled for Saturday. Rowan stood on the steps of the new clinic, freshly painted, glass doors gleaming in the morning sun. A banner hung above the entrance, the Mira Langford Center for Community Health. Her name, in bold letters. Belmano. Reporters gathered on the sidewalk. Cameras clicked. Microphones waited. Lal stood beside him, jaw tight. You sure you want to do this? Yes. You know what they're going to ask. I know. Garrison was conspicuously absent. He'd sent a text that morning. Count me out. This is career suicide. Rowan didn't care. Alia stood next to him, wearing a purple dress Miss Claudia had picked out. Her hair was done in 2 braids with ribbons at the ends. She held his hand tight. Nori was there too. At the last minute, she'd gotten in the car without saying a word. She stood on his other side now, arms crossed, face unreadable. A reporter stepped forward. Dr. Pierce, can you tell us about the Mira Langford Center? Rowan cleared his throat. This clinic will provide free medical training and healthcare services to underserved communities. It's named after Mira Langford, a nurse who dedicated her life to helping others. What was your relationship with Ms. Langford? Here it was. Rowan looked at Alia. She looked back, steady and calm. He turned to the cameras. Mira Langford saved my daughter's life 14 years ago. She risked her career to make sure my child survived. And when she needed help, I wasn't there. His voice cracked. I stayed silent. And she paid the price. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Another reporter pushed forward. Are you saying you're responsible for her being fired? Yes. Why come forward now? Rowan squeezed Alia's hand. Because her daughter found me. And she reminded me that silence doesn't make things go away. It just makes them worse. A journalist in the back called out, Is this child Miss Langford's daughter? Yes. And where is she living now? With me. The questions came faster, overlapping, demanding. Are you her legal guardian? The paperwork's being finalized. Is she your biological child? Rowan paused, looked down at Alia. She nodded once. Permission. He looked back at the cameras. Yes. She's my daughter. The crowd erupted. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted. Lal cursed under his breath. But Rowan didn't move. Just stood there, holding Alia's hand, letting the truth wash over him like rain. When the noise died down, he continued. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here because Mira Langford deserved better than what I gave her. And her daughter, our daughter, deserves better than silence. He gestured to the clinic behind him. This center is a promise that no one will be left behind because someone else was too afraid to speak up. That kindness won't be punished. That truth matters. He looked at Alia. Mira taught me that, even if I didn't understand it until now. Alia's eyes shimmered with tears, but she smiled. The ceremony continued. Speeches, ribbon cutting, photos. Afterward, people approached him. Some shook his hand. Some walked past without looking. Lal pulled him aside. You just destroyed your reputation. You know that, right? Maybe it needed to be destroyed. The board's going to vote you out. Let them. Lal shook his head, walked away. Rowan turned and found Nori standing alone by the entrance. She was staring at the banner, at Myra's name. He walked over, stood beside her. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for all of this, for not telling you sooner, for not being honest. Nori didn't look at him. Did you love her? Mira. Rowan thought about it. Really thought. I cared about her. I respected her. But I don't know if I loved her. Not the way I should have. And now I'm trying to make it right. Nori finally looked at him. Her eyes were red. I don't know if I can forgive you. I know. But I don't hate her. Alia. It's not her fault. No. It's mine. Nori nodded. Looked back at the banner. Mira Langford. That's a good name. Yeah, it is. They stood there together, father and daughter, in the shadow of the truth. Alia ran up, breathless, dragging Miss Claudia behind her. Can we go inside? I want to see what it looks like. Rowan smiled. Yeah, let's go. They walked in together. All of them, broken and messy and trying. Inside, the clinic smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings. Exam rooms lined the hallways. A waiting area with comfortable chairs. A children's corner with books and toys. On the wall, a plaque. In memory of Mira Langford. Nurse. Mother. Hero. Alia touched the letters gently. She would have liked this. Yeah, Rowan whispered. She would have. Nori stod best dada. Awkward. Uncertain. Then slowly, she reached out and touched the plaque too. She sounded like she was really brave. Alia looked up at her. She was. They stood there, two girls who'd never met, connected by blood and loss, and a man who'd finally stopped running. Rowan watched them, and for the first time in 14 years, he felt like maybe he could breathe. What does it take to face the truth you've been hiding from? To stand in front of the world and say, I was wrong. Drop your thoughts below, because the hardest part of any story is admitting where it really began. 3 months later, Alia laughed at the dinner table. It was a small thing, a joke MS. Claudia told about burning toast, but the sound filled the kitchen like light breaking through clouds. Rowan set down his fork and just listened. Nori rolled her eyes, but she was smiling too. That's not even funny. It's a little funny, Alia said, giggling. You have a terrible sense of humor. You're just grumpy. Nori threw a napkin at her. Alia threw one back. Miss Claudia shook her head, grinning. Y'all are going to make me regret teaching you manners. Rowan watched them. Sisters, fighting over nothing, laughing over less. It hadn't been easy. Those first weeks were brutal. Alia cried herself to sleep most nights. Nori avoided her. The house felt like a war zone where everyone tiptoed around landmines. But slowly, painfully, awkwardly, they found a rhythm. Alia started therapy. Twice a week, she sat in a small office with a woman named Dr. Simmons and talked about her mama, about being scared, about not knowing where she belonged. Nori started going too. Different therapist. Same building. They didn't talk about it much. But sometimes, after their sessions, they'd sit in the waiting room together and share a bag of chips. Small steps. But steps. Rowan had stepped down from 2 of his board positions. Spent less time at the office. More time at home. He helped Alia with homework. Drove Nori to soccer practice. Learned how to braid hair from YouTube videos that made both girls laugh at his terrible attempts. The foundation survived. Barely. Half the board resigned. Donations dropped. But the Mira Langford Center thrived. People showed up. Families who needed help. Students who wanted to learn. Myra's name meant something now. Not just to him. To everyone. After dinner, Alia dragged Rowan into the living room. I need to show you something. She pulled out her backpack. Unzipped it carefully. Handed him a piece of paper. A report card. Rowan scanned it. B's and C's. 1A in art. You did this. She nodded, biting her lip. Miss Torres said I improved a lot. She said I'm catching up. Rowan pulled her into a hug. I'm so proud of you. Really, really. She squeezed him back, then pulled away, shy again. Can I ask you something? Anything. Can I call you Dad? Like, for real. Rowan's throat tightened. You don't have to ask permission. I just wanted to make sure it was okay. It's more than okay. She smiled. Wide. Bright. The kind of smile that erased every mistake he'd ever made. Okay. Thanks, Dad. The word hit him like a wave. Dad. Not Dr. Pierce. Not Sir. Dad. He blinked hard. Nodded. Later that night, after both girls were asleep, Rowan sat on the back porch with a glass of water and Myra's letter. He'd read it so many times the creases were starting to tear. But he couldn't put it away. Please make sure she never feels like she came from nothing. He folded it carefully, tucked it back in his wallet. Then he pulled out his phone and opened the photo gallery. Scrolled until he found the picture of Mira on her porch, holding baby Alia. He stared at it for a long time. I'm trying, he whispered. I know it's late. I know it's not enough. But I'm trying. The night was quiet. No answer came. But somewhere he hoped she heard him. Inside, a door opened. Footsteps. Nori stepped onto the porch, wrapped in a blanket. Can't sleep? Not really. She sat down beside him. Me neither. They sat in silence for a while. Crickets chirped. A neighbor's dog barked in the distance. I'm sorry, Rowan said. For everything I put you through. For not being honest. For bringing chaos into your life. Nori pulled the blanket tighter. I was really mad at you. I know. Like really, really mad. I know. But... She paused. I get it now. Kind of. You were scared. And you messed up. And now you're trying to fix it. I don't know if I can fix it. Maybe you can't. But you're trying. And that's... I don't know. It's something. Rowan looked at her. His firstborn. His constant. The girl who'd forgiven him when he didn't deserve it. You're a better person than I am. She snorted. Obviously. He smiled. She's not so bad, Nori said quietly. Alia. She's actually kind of funny. Yeah, she is. And she's really smart. Like, she figured out my math homework faster than I did. Don't tell her that. She'll never let you forget it. Naughty loghead. Soft. Real. They sat there together, father and daughter, under the stars, building something new from the wreckage of the past. Dad. Yeah. I think Mama would have liked her. Alia, I think she would have wanted you to help her. Rowan's eyes burned. You think so? Yeah. Mama always said you had a good heart. You just forgot sometimes. He didn't trust his voice. Just nodded. Nori stood up, yawned. I'm going to bed. Try to get some sleep, okay? Okay. She paused at the door. Love you, Dad. Love you too. She went inside. Rowan sat alone in the dark, feeling the weight of forgiveness settle over him like grace. He didn't deserve it, but he'd take it, and he'd spend the rest of his life earning it. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It just makes space for a better future. Have you ever forgiven someone who hurt you? Share your story in the comments. because healing starts when we stop hiding from the truth. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday morning. Rowan's hands shook as he held it. His name was written in handwriting he hadn't seen in 14 years. Careful, deliberate strokes that somehow survived the years like a fingerprint pressed into stone. Miss Claudia stood in the kitchen doorway. "You okay, Dr. Pierce?" He couldn't answer, just stared at the postmark, dated 2 weeks before Mira died. Inside was a letter, and something else. Rowan unfolded the paper slowly. The words blurred as he read. "Dear Rowan, I'm writing this because I might not be here when she finds you. The doctors don't think the pneumonia will let me stay much longer. I wanted you to know something before I go. I forgave you a long time ago, not because what you did was right, but because holding on to anger was heavier than I could carry while raising a child alone. Every day I worked double shifts. I could have been mad. Every night I held Alia while she cried. I could have blamed you, but that would have only hurt her. So I chose different. I built a good life from nothing. Not an easy life, but a good one. Alia is kind. She's brilliant. She has your stubbornness in my heart. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of her. If you're reading this, it means she found you, which means she's brave enough to face the man who didn't know she existed. That's all me. That's my daughter. Don't ask her to forgive you. To show her what it means to stay. Show her what it means to choose her every single day, even when it costs you everything. That's all any of us really need. With peace, Mira." Rowan lowered the letter. His vision swam. Beside the letter was a photograph he'd never seen. Alia as a baby, maybe 6 months old. And beside her, another photo tucked in the envelope. A university acceptance letter to nursing school. Myra's name at the top. She'd gotten in. Years ago, she'd chosen to stay home instead. Chosen Alia over everything else. He heard footsteps on the stairs. Alia appeared in her school uniform, backpack slung over one shoulder. She stopped when she saw his face. "Dad? What's wrong?" Rowan held out the envelope. "Your mama left this. For me. For us." Alia's eyes widened. She took it slowly, read through everything. When she looked up, tears streamed down her face. "She forgave you." "Yeah, she did. Even though you weren't there. Even though." Alia pressed the letter to her chest. "I'm glad I found you." Rowan pulled her close, held her while she cried. Held her for the mother who'd loved her enough to let go. Held her for the man he'd been and the man he was finally becoming. When she pulled back, she wiped her eyes. "Can we go to the cemetery? I want to tell her about school. And about Nori. About everything." "Yeah, we can do that." They went together, father and daughter. Nori met them there with flowers. Miss Claudia stayed in the car, giving them space. They stood at Myra's grave. Alia placed flowers down, told her about the math test she aced, about Nori teaching her how to braid her hair, about the father who showed up. Rowan didn't say anything, just listened, just stood there as witness to a life that continued forward. That's when he understood. Forgiveness wasn't about erasing the past. It was about giving yourself permission to build something better from it. Mira had done that, despite everything. Now he would too. They left the cemetery as the sun began to set. The car was warm. The radio played soft music. Alia fell asleep against the window. Rowan drove toward home, toward Nori, toward the life they were building together. No more running, no more silence, just truth wrapped in the hard work of redemption. And that was enough. If you've ever carried guilt long enough to forget who you were before it, comment below. Share your story, because this is what real redemption looks like. Not forgetting what you've done, but doing better with every day you're given. Thank you for staying with Rowan and Alia's journey. Make sure you subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss our next story that will inspire, challenge, and change how you see the world. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Let's keep this conversation going in the comments. We're listening.